What is up, guys? Del Boy here. So Canelo Alvarez outpoints Daniel Jacobs to unify the IBF, WBA and WBC middleweight titles. I'm not going to talk too much about the fight just because the fight was a couple of days ago now and it would be a bit late to put up like a post-fight thoughts video, and there's plenty of post-fight reviews for this fight online anyway. So I'm not really going to do a post-fight, but in short, I felt it was a good fight, I enjoyed it, but I felt the right man got his hand raised. I felt it was one of those fights that was close but clear. You know, in the first half of the fight, I felt Alvarez looked really good. His jab was on point, he was boxing well, and he was landing the quality stuff. In the second half of the fight, Canelo Alvarez slowed down a bit and Danny Jacobs came back into it, but ultimately I felt Jacobs left it a bit too late and he didn't really do enough in my opinion, so I felt Alvarez was the rightful winner. But that's just my opinion. But where does Canelo Alvarez go next following this win? There's a few options out there and there's been a few names mentioned. I will go through these names and share my thoughts on each potential fight. The first being the Golovkin trilogy fight. Now, I've seen a few people online say they don't really want to see this fight, or they're not as interested in this fight as they once were, because they have fought twice already, and not only that, there was a lot of back and forth talk, controversy in regards to both fights. So I think people may be a bit burnt out on Canelo versus Golovkin 3, if I'm being honest. My opinion though, I would love to see it. I thoroughly enjoyed both fights, and seeing it a third time isn't a bad thing, in my opinion. I still believe Golovkin is the second best middleweight in the world, so if Canelo's going to fight Golovkin next, I've got no problem with that whatsoever. That's a fight that makes a lot of sense financially, and I'm sure when the fight comes around, people will be interested. The second option was Demetrius Andrade. This also makes a lot of sense because ultimately it would be an undisputed title fight. You know, Demetrius Andrade holds the WBO title and Canelo holds the WBA, WBC and IBF titles. So this fight would crown an undisputed middleweight champion, the first since Jermaine Taylor way back when. And also, like the Golovkin fight, it's easy to make. Demetrius Andrade is with Matchroom USA and he fights on DAZN, so the fight should be easily makeable. And I think it makes a lot of sense and I would like to see it. If we get Demetrius Andrade versus Canelo in September, I would be more than happy. In fact, I would be very pleased about it. But another option that's been mentioned for Canelo is Callum Smith. Callum Smith obviously holds the WBA super middleweight title, and you know that would be a big fight. That fight would draw a lot of interest in the UK, and it's a big challenge for Canelo Alvarez because Callum Smith is a huge 168 pounder. He's a guy who's going to go up to light heavyweight eventually, and he's proven himself at the highest level at 168. Big guy, he's got solid boxing skills, he can punch. That's a risky fight for Canelo, jumping up in weight. So if that fight were to be made next, again, I wouldn't be mad. I think it's a good fight, I think it's a challenge, and yeah, it's certainly a risk. So I've got no problem with a potential Callum Smith fight. And one more name, a curveball if you will, is Sergey Kovalev. I've heard Canelo and Golden Boy talk about the possibility of Canelo moving to 175 to fight Sergey Kovalev. That would be a massive jump in weight and an extremely tough fight. If Canelo is serious about fighting Kovalev, then all of the credit in the world to him. You know, that goes to show his ambition and his self-belief, because Kovalev, a much bigger man, a massive puncher, and still a world-class light heavyweight even now. Yeah, Kovalev isn't what he was a few years ago, but he's still a problem and he's still one of the best in the world, in my opinion. So yeah, if Canelo were to fight Kovalev at 175, I've got to give him a lot of credit, to be honest with you. But anyway, enough of a talk. I want to see what you guys think. I want to see who you guys want Canelo to fight next. Also in the comments, tell me how you guys felt about Jacobs Canelo. How did you score it? Share your thoughts. Peace.